Okay, this is take 3. Hi, this is Steve Kendall. I appreciate everybody tuning in to watch my live stream, Lift the Stigma. Opioid addiction is not a casserole dish. When somebody dies of opioid addiction, there's not a casserole in sight. When people die in a car accident, or if they die from cancer, the neighbors come pouring. There's flowers and food everywhere. But opioid addiction and deaths, oh good, I have sound now. So anyway, let me start over for everybody. Opioid addiction is not a casserole dish. When somebody dies in an auto accident or somebody dies from cancer, the neighbors come running. There's an outpour. There are flowers everywhere. There's food everywhere. But when somebody dies from an overdose due to opioids, there's not a casserole in sight. That's because overdose deaths come with shame, embarrassment, guilt, stigma. Until we're able to make this a topic that everybody can talk about openly, we're never going to slow this crisis down. We need to be able to fight this fight openly in the light. When somebody dies due to a mass shooting, there's an outpour across our entire country for change. There's an uproar from people. 3,900 people die a month from opioid overdoses, 130 people a day. Prescription opioid addiction has no social boundary. Doesn't matter if you work on Wall Street, if you're a teacher, a laborer, a Navy SEAL. All it takes is one accident and your doctor prescribes you opiates and your life spirals out of control. The story of Angela is one of the saddest stories I've ever told or heard. Angela, a 33-year-old mother, a Christian, happily married with 3 daughters, never drank, never smoked a cigarette, never took any kind of drugs. She got injured in aerobics class, and her doctor prescribed her opiates, and a short time later, her life spiraled out of control. Husband left her, her parents put her in rehab, and when she got out, she couldn't get a doctor to prescribe her any opiates. They found Angela dead in a hotel room from a heroin overdose. Angela's parents are raising her children now. And that sad story is what's going on across the whole country now that you don't hear about. If Superman had been real, opioid addiction could have dropped him to his knees faster than kryptonite. I personally have always been a physically powerful man. Opioid addiction dropped me to my knees in a blink of an eye. I overcame it. So can you. I'm no one special. Visit our updated website, www.fightopiates.us, and read about how I overcame opioid addiction. Or if you have any questions whatsoever, please email me and I'll call you back personally. Also, we have hats and shirts available that says Fight Opiates. Please purchase one of them, wear them, and get the word out that we all need to make change. You can read up on the class action suit that we're preparing. Our class action suit's different than the states that have filed against the opioid companies. For example, Oklahoma just won a lawsuit for $270 million. A judge later charged Johnson & Johnson and charged them $572 million in their role in fueling the opioid crisis in Oklahoma. The difference is you hear this once, and do you really remember it? Not really. Our suit is to bring faces in the courtroom, to put a face on this crisis for families like Angela, for people that are suffering opioid addiction, people that have suffered opioid addiction, and people that have lost monetary money due to their prescription opioid addiction. That's what this class action suit's about. People are going to remember Angela's face. People aren't going to remember how much money Oklahoma made. And the states have a right to file against the drug companies, as it's costing them added money for first responders and all kinds of things due to the opioid related deaths. So I am not against whatsoever, hey William, I'm not against any of the states filing against them. I think it's great. But we need to put a face on this crisis so more Americans get involved. You know, yesterday watching Cheryl Spangler live, she one of her topics was, she asked, what events changed America? She asked us all to submit 3 things. I actually submitted 4. One was steel, Andrew Carnegie, steel. 2 was Henry Ford making the automotive affordable for Americans and inventing the assembly line. Number 3 was David Rockefeller, who brought oil to us and put standard oil stations across America so we could fuel these automobiles. But the reason I bring this up is Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, and J.P. Morgan financed him in building the first electric company. J.P. Morgan was the first person in the world to ever have his home lit by electricity. Now I bring this up because J.P. Morgan Chase is the first financial institution to drop the Slacker family, Purdue Pharma, and stop handling all their investments, showing the country that principle and ethics far exceed greed. In a statement, they said they were no longer going to represent these people that were making billions of dollars on Americans dying. My hat's off to J.C. Morgan Chase for setting an example the rest of the country should follow. My up-and-coming show, I'm hopefully going to have Tom Woods, who formerly, hey Richard Pettit, how are you doing, buddy? Hope you enjoyed the beach. My up-and-coming show is going to have Tom Woods, who formerly created a company to go in and teach businesses how to avoid injury with their employees so they wouldn't get put on opiates. Tom's also a former priest, Catholic priest, and his brother died of opioid addiction. Tom is now working in hospitals around the country helping people overcome opioid addiction. Very interesting man. I hope that he will join me next Wednesday. It's planned, but sometimes he has to work in a hospital 24 hours straight. I'd also like for everybody to take 5 seconds when this video concludes and say a prayer for the 34 people who died off the coast of California in that horrible fire. You know, these poor people went away to enjoy their holidays and go on a dive vacation, and while asleep their dive boat caught on fire and they were trapped beneath. I think we all need to take time and say a prayer for them and their families. In closing, I'm always going to say 2 things. There's strength in numbers. Together we can make a difference. Put God first and everything else will fall into place. Thank you, and I hope you tune in next Wednesday at 2 o'clock following Cheryl Spangler live at 12:30. Thank you.